couldn't stop thinking about what had happened between us before Zach walked in. It's like he was everywhere. Dave started to help Zach put his stuff away while I started to edit my video. Nah, not gonna upload this. I was too deep in thought, I mumbled to myself. I'll just record a new video later, I concluded as I closed my laptop. I went downstairs to find myself something to snack on. I snatched a bag of chips off the counter and sat on the couch. I heard 2 pairs of footsteps coming down the stairs. Fuck, they're up to something. They're always doing something. I turned around. Zach had thrown a tomato on my face, and honestly, I wasn't surprised, since he's known for his pranking. I went to go hop in the shower. Once finished, I turned on my hairdryer and... Zach, god damn it, I yelled in frustration. Zach came and looked around the corner to see me covered in flour. Ha, classic, Zach said and left. I took my washcloth and cleaned my face off before I went to the couch. Dave was eating yogurt, and Zach was nowhere to be seen. I went to grab some yogurt and cookies, only to see no food in the fridge. "Right, Dave, I'm about to head out," I shouted. I called an Uber, then I went to go put on my shoes. Then felt something wet at the bottom, and there it was, my yogurt. At this point I was beyond furious with Zach. Behind me I saw Zach eating my special homemade chocolate chip cookies, and was Dave smirking from ear to ear. "Zach, you absolute hectard," I said as I stormed into my room. I found my older shoes, checked for any yogurt, and then slid them on. I ran outside to catch my Uber, but before I closed the door, I said, "This isn't over, Zach," and left. I paid the driver and went inside. I grabbed a basket to store my items and scanned through the aisles for food that looked good. I was about to get cookies, but a familiar-looking boy snatched my shopping basket and ran away. I turned around and where do you think you're going, nerd?" a noticeable voice said. "Bruh, I'm just trying to get my stuff. Can't you and Zach just, leave me alone?" I asked. "I'm here to get some muffins," Zach announced proudly. I sighed and let them continue with whatever they're doing. I went to the cashier and paid for my food. I waited for Zach and Dave so that we could drive home. Eventually, they came outside, but I saw not 2 people, but 4. "Who are they?" I instantly questioned, raising an eyebrow. "Just some good friends from YouTube," Zach started, Silk and Spifey mentioning towards them. "I completely destroyed them in Minecraft Monday," Dave said, laughing along with the others at his comment. "Okay, cool, but how did they get here?" I asked, confused. "Transportation. Now let's go home." We hopped in the Uber and talked about YouTube. I paid the driver and the 5 of us went inside. "You hungry?" I asked Silk and Spifey. "Nah, we just ate," Silk started, but was interrupted by Zach. "I'm hungry, please, and thank you," Zach suddenly said, kind of glaring at Silk. "I'm sorry, I don't give food to pranksters. Anyone else?" I asked, making Zach frustrated. I just ate cookies since no one else was hungry, and we decided to play Uno. "Uno," Dave chipped. "I guess I'm even good at regular games, too. Get destroyed, nerds," he commented, being narcissistic as usual. We kept playing, and by no surprise, Dave won. "I knew I should have changed the colors," Zilk said, giving out an exasperated sigh. "Get wrecked, nerds," Dave said with a high tone of satisfaction. I checked the time. It was 8:04 p.m. "What do you all want?" I started, but was rudely interrupted when the doorbell rang. "Pizza," Zach exclaimed whilst running to the door. Since when did he order pizza?" I questioned. The others just looked at each other and shrugged. We were all hungry anyways. Zach came back with 3 boxes of pizza, 1 cheese, 1 meat lovers, and the last being sausage. "You have sausage all over your face," Dave said, laughing a bit, taking a napkin and proceeding to wipe my face. "There," Dave mumbled, smiling at me while I started to blush a bit. "Well, guys, I'm gonna crash on the couch," Spifey chimed in while grabbing a blanket and pillow and falling asleep on the couch. "It's getting pretty late, so I'm going to sleep here for the night," Silk says as he grabs his African wild dog plushie and sleeps with a pillow and a blanket on the floor. Well, I have to go to the bathroom and take a shower, brush my teeth, and I'm probably going to go to sleep, Zack added. Dave and I were the only ones up. We looked at each other. So, what you want to do? I asked. You up for a late-night stream? Dave replied. You bet, I stated. Both got our streams set up and set our intros. Me and Dave's chat instantly blew up. Hey kids, it's me, and I'm here with Techno, I said, gesturing over to Dave. The one and only. We decided on streaming something because we haven't posted in a while, I said. A lot has happened this past week, Dave said, putting an elbow on my shoulder, giving it a glance as I smiled at him. Dave walked back to his stream to attend it, and that's where the games began. We will be playing Bed Wars and Sky Wars, Dave announced. We started to play Bed Wars, having a successful start and winning. Nice job, Dave said as he started the next game. Now the real question is, can you carry me in Sky Wars, Nub? Dave said teasingly. Of course I can, Techno. It's not that hard. I rolled my eyes. I let Dave have the arm in the chest while I speed bridged to mid. We were the first ones there. We got most of our loot, and we were wearing 3/4 of diamond gear. We got a few kills until it was us and another team. I was in front of them while Dave came from the back. They were trapped, and we finished them off, winning the game. I then text, Hey Techno, wanna finish that thing? Oh, whoa, you say. What thing? Techno asks. Oh, that thing, Techno responds. We both said our outros and ended our streams before I met Dave in his room. Where did we stop? I think you were about to punish me for not listening to you. You're right, I said, as I pushed Dave on the bed and started to kiss him. Found our pace immediately. You know you are my nerd, right? Dave asked. Duh, of course, I said, not really knowing why he asked. After only making out for a while, we decided to just cuddle as to not wake the others. Next morning, I don't know. Zug stopped in his tracks. He looked in Dave's bedroom to see me tucked in Dave's arms, him laying his head on mine fast asleep. Wake up, sleepyheads, Zelk said as he tapped me and Dave furiously. Dave opened his eyes to see Zelk standing there. He looked down to see me in his arms, fast asleep. He gently kissed my forehead and gently shook me awake. Yawning, I stretched and got up. Good morning, guys, I gradually said. Good morning, sleeping beauties, Zelk choked. I scrambled out of the room to brush my teeth. Before I went to brush my teeth, then I remembered Payback Zack, quietly snuck next to the couch Zack was sleeping on. I pulled a permanent marker out of my pocket. Yeah, payback time. I drew a mustache on Zack's face with some dark eyebrows, and to top it all off, I drew a flower on his cheek. I looked around the room of what else I could do to him. I ran to his laptop and opened it. Last thing he was on was Twitter. I thought, then I got an idea. I typed a post that said, if pineapples were apples, coconut rolls would be sitting on curtains eating shoes. Just stupid shit that sounds like Zack would type. I then proceeded to pour a cup of water and dumped it on his head before running down the hall and down the stairs. I was met by Spifey and Dave having cereal. What were you up to? Dave asked, spooning a bit of his cereal. Nothing much. Yet, I answered. I started to pour milk into my bowl, then, Who did this to me? The screams of Zack flooded the house. I guess you're walking on thin ice, I shot back. Within 10 minutes, Zelk and Zack came downstairs, Zack extremely grumpy and Zelk laughing hysterically at Zack. Payback, I whisper, only so Zack could hear me. Told you she was going to do it, Zack, Dave told him. Well, if you want a war, you've got one, Zack said, winking. A phone notification came from Zack's phone. Flight delayed for 3 days. Will I ever get home? Zack yelled in frustration. Everyone turned to him in surprise, hearing his frustrated tone. My flight is delayed for another 3 days, Zack groaned. Oh, that's hella tough, I added. Anyone up for bowling? I'm down, Spifey said. We walked to a nearby bowling center, ordered for 2 games. I put on my bowling shoes and waited for the others. Slow, I muttered. Very funny, Zack responded once everyone had put their shoes on. We walked down to the bowling alley, and of course I was last. Dave went first and scored a strike. Zack got an 8 and so did Spivey. Zelk missed that it was my turn. I scored a 9. After we had about 5 turns, I looked at the scoreboard. I had a lead. Just behind was Dave and Zack, Spivey on 44 and Zelk on 38. I patiently waited for my turn, then grabbed a ball and bowled. I got a strike, putting me ahead by 10 points. By the end of the game, Dave and I had tied for first. We started our second match, with me being first. I went bowling and missed. I watched the ball roll into the side lane and down. Zack went next, scoring a strike. Spivey snatched the ball and rolled down the alley aggressively. Zelk was about to bowl, but he had accidentally slipped due to stepping on an oiled floor, receiving a loud whine from him. We finished the game with Zelk winning. At least I beat Dave in something, Zelk said smugly. Dave rolled his eyes. We walked back home to eat, since we weren't bothered to call an Uber or walk to a fast food place. I unlocked the door and flopped onto the couch. Anyone up for noodles? Zelk asked. We all nodded in agreement. Well, I had at least put my thumbs up. In this time span of 10 minutes, we had a cup of noodles placed on my back. No, don't. Take it off, I whined. How about no? Zelk raised an eyebrow and leaves. I was stuck on the couch with a cup of noodles on my back. Never have I ever been in a worse situation in my adult life. I gave up and just rested my head on a pillow. First Zack, but now Zelk. I would have never expected him to be a prankster. On the bright side, the sun was shining into my eyes. Eventually, everyone finished eating and wanted to watch TV. I simply said no and laid there. Zack got extremely impatient, so he took the cup of noodles and ran around the house as I chased him. He was cornered, so I took the cup and ran downstairs, gobbled down my food, grabbed a pillow, and sat in between Dave and Zack. Grabbing my pillow, I threw it at Zelk. What did you do that for? What did you do that for? Zelk glanced at me. It was an accident. I am sorry, I answered, but under my breath I whispered not. Suddenly, Dave grabbed a pillow and threw it at me, then screamed, "Pillow fight!" I scrambled to grab the 33 pillows from our storage cupboard under the stairs. I threw them all at Zelk for making my noodles cold. He stumbled and fell onto the carpet floor. I attempted to throw a pillow on him when he was on the ground, but Zack hit me in the back. Zack took this opportunity to run. He ran to the couch and grabbed his African wild dog plushie. He then yeeted it at Dave, who was following him silently. "Stick 'em," Zelk shouted as he was running. Meanwhile, I was dealing with Zack. He was fully loaded on pillows, with a giant pile behind him, but that also means I can hit him hard. I tried throwing my pillow at him as hard as I can, and he fell over into his pillows with no serious injuries. I went over to help Dave with Zelk, and he didn't seem to be having any trouble with him. But Zelk was also holding a solid defense. I looked around to see if Spivey was anywhere in sight. He wasn't, but something was. I saw Zelk's African wild dog plushie. I've only watched a few of his videos, but I know that's dear to him. I ran over to grab it, and after it was obtained, I shouted, "Zelk!" It caught his attention. "Let's come to an agreement," I negotiated. "If you yield, I won't rip its head off," I said, hoping this would work. Okay, I surrender. Please don't rip his head off," Zelk shouted in a worried tone. I threw him the plushie, and both me and Dave went to find Zack. Zack was replenishing his ammo when we found him. I threw a pillow at him to catch his attention. "It's a 2v1, Zack, and if you think you can beat us both, go ahead and try," I challenged as we both threw pillows his way. We had almost had the upper edge till a pillow hit me in the back. I heard from behind me, "It's your boy, ships ahoy." I instantly knew it was Spivey. "Where have you been the whole time?" I questioned as I started throwing pillows his way. "In the bathroom," Spivey responded as he caught the pillow I was trying to throw at him and threw it back. It hit me square in the face. I began to fall backward, and Dave caught me and threw a pillow at Spiffy. It appeared to have actually hurt him a bit. Can't lose my only teammate yet, Dave commented. I got back on my feet and kept throwing pillows, back to back, the whole time. We eventually prevailed after a long fight. Get destroyed, nerds, I heard Dave say. Zelk sighed, walking over to us. I'm guessing we lost, Zelk added with a bit of frustration. I turned on my phone, revealing the bright lock screen, revealing the time to be 2:30 p.m. on the dot. Let's just watch some Netflix, guys, I stated lazily. I'd rather be checking Twitter, Zach said, scrolling through his notifications and DMs. What the actual heck did you do? He said, staring straight into my eyes. What did... Oh, I started laughing hysterically. Like, who in the right state of mind would wait? If pineapples were apples, coconut rolls would be sitting on curtains, eating shoes. You, I responded enthusiastically. Zach simply rolled his eyes. Now, you're either going to watch Netflix, or Zelk gets the couch and you get to sleep on the floor, I demanded. Okay, Zach laughed and sat on the spacious couch. Zach's phone blew up within 2 minutes. I checked what it was coming from. At least 72 DMs were about disinfectant spray and tropical fish. Zach, what video did you recently release? I questioned out of the blue. Oh, it was about disinfectant sprays, spraying tropical fish out everywhere, Zach responded casually. For a second, everyone glanced at him with dismay, then quickly acted as if Zach had said nothing. The show has a 4.9-star rating. We're watching it, Dave chirped. What is it? Spivey asked. He was quickly cut off by, I'm Peppa Pig. This is my little brother George. This is Mommy Pig. And this is Daddy Pig. We all stared at Dave. Who gave you permission to touch the remote? I had asked out of the blue. Everyone but you did, Dave retorted. This would be a really big bra moment, I said. Hey, at least respect my brother George, Dave joked. I swear this shit keeps getting wacky. Chapter 14. I woke up to the TV blaring shows, quickly grabbed the remote and turned it off. Looking around, I saw that Dave and Zelk were still asleep on the couch, so I quietly got up, trying not to wake them. I headed to the fridge for some food. While opening the fridge, I felt something hug me from behind. Good morning, nerd, Dave whispered in my ear while grabbing some milk. I thought you were asleep, I said, ignoring the fact that I had turned a little pink. I was asleep, then you woke me up, he said, grabbing the cereal. Where's everyone else? No clue. I just woke up to you and Zelk cuddling, I joked. Jealous much, he replied, while taking the cereal upstairs. I rolled my eyes and grabbed some coffee as Zach came through the front door with Spiffy at his side. Good morning, gamers, Zach shouted, waking Zelk up. I was sleeping, you know, Zelk glared, grabbing a pillow from the floor and shuffling away. What a bummer, Spiffy said as he plopped bags down onto the counter. What did you guys get? I asked, peering into bags only to see stacks and stacks of muffins. I rolled my eyes again and walked up the stairs to my room where I opened my laptop to start streaming. Good morning, guys. I thought I would do an early morning stream, I said, excited, but the chat spammed 11 a.m. You guys are just bullying me in chat, I said, opening up Minecraft. I'd played for a bit before receiving a donation from Skeppy. Oh no, not again, I thought to myself. Join TeamSpeak. I need to talk to you, the donation read. I then joined TeamSpeak and was immediately dragged into a room. Yo, what's up? Zach said enthusiastically. What do you want? I'm trying to stream here, I asked, annoyed. Zach had been everywhere, it seemed. Well, you see, I need your help, Zach said, then left the mic. I'm in a house with an idiot. The door swung open with Zach standing there, holding out finger guns. Hey, so, like, you're cute. I turned in a shade of red and thought of Dave. You know I'm streaming, right? I stuttered, ignoring the stream. Yeah, I know, but I thought I'd tell you since we are living together, he said confidently, while standing in the doorway. I sat there, not knowing what to say. But then Zach was shoved into the room by an obviously angry Dave. What the hell's going on? Dave said passive-aggressively. I just sat in shock, turning a deeper shade of red now, with Dave here and Zach on the floor. Chill, just complimenting her, Zach said, getting up from the floor but keeping a distance from Dave. Well, isn't that nice of you, Zach? You know we've always been good friends, and since we are friends, I need to tell you something. Dave glared at him, then looked back at me. I don't know what's going on anymore, I said, sitting in my chair, still trying to process this all. I know we're great friends, Dave. I was just thinking that you was looking quite cute today, and I would tell her how I feel. Zach glared back at Dave, turning it into a staring contest. Well, Zach, you should know that we are dating, Dave said with clear anger in his tone. I'm just saying that she looked cute, plus why would she settle? But Zach was cut off by Dave. She isn't settling at all, Zach. If she was, she wouldn't pick the 5'8" kid who still isn't at puberty, Dave said, obviously angry. Okay, wait, hold on, I said, getting up from the chair. Dave, we all know that people would prefer puppy over giraffe, Zach said, standing on his tippy toes, trying to get up to Dave. Bruh, girls, I yelled, obviously trying to get their attention. Can you guys take this outside? I'm screaming, I sighed, and they broke off from glaring and left the room. I heard a knock on my door after 10 minutes and muted my mic. Hey, listen, I'm sorry, Dave trailed off and looked away. Jealous much, I mocked, but got up from my chair and kissed him. Well, I'm sorry, I care about you so much, Hush, Dave, I said, and went back to hopefully finish my stream without any interruptions. After my stream, I went to go find where Dave had fled to. Then I remembered Zelk and Spivey had been in their apartment for way too long. Zach said just for a video collab, but they've been here for 2 days. They have their own houses, they can survive themselves, I thought to myself. Suddenly, I saw Zelk and Spivey in the living room. Zelk, Spivey, I would like you to open our apartment front door and walk out, I phrased carefully. Okay, cool, thanks for having us over, though, Zelk replied. Zelk and Spivey left our apartment after a short conversation. I searched all over the household for Dave, but he was nowhere to be seen. Hey, Zach, have you seen Dave anywhere? I asked him, still checking around for him. I don't know. He's the least of my concern right now, he replied, while I sighed. You're no help, I replied, walking away from him. I went down the stairs to see an empty cup which had broken on the floor. I quickly swept up the mess and made myself toast with butter. Just when I was about to go back upstairs, I heard a door creak open. It was Dave. Where have you been? I asked him with my arms crossed. Just been recording some videos, he said, nervously laughing it off. Yeah, sure. I wasn't born yesterday, Dave, I answered. I've been looking for you, I stated. Awkward silence. Well, I'm gonna get some water, he said, breaking the silence. I put my arm out, preventing him from the hallway. I'm not letting you go anywhere until you tell me where you've been, I demanded. Dave sighed. Fine. I was at a friend's house. Happy? Which friend? I questioned. So, who? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Just at Finn's house, he answered. I waved my arms around his face. Finn lives in England. Why are you lying? I asked, looking up at him. So, I'll only ask one more time, Dave, I said, examining my nails. Where were you? At this point, Zach was staring at Dave and I. After a bit, I gave up. I wasn't going to talk to someone who was going to keep lying, so I asked Zach to question him. Did you or did you not lie? I heard Zach ask. From what I heard, Dave was muttering jumbled words. I crept closer to the door they were behind to eavesdrop. Suddenly, I heard a voice. He must have gotten really angry to shout at Dave, someone behind me commented. Turned around to see who it was, but no one was there. I must have been imagining things. About 10 minutes after Zach had questioned Dave, I went straight up to Dave. Where did you go? I stared straight into his eyes. He turned around and walked out of the house. I checked the time, 4:58 p.m., and decided that leaving Dave alone was for the best. He was unresponsive to everyone. I collected all the pillows from last night's pillow fight and shoved them into the storage cupboard. Then I went to my room and grabbed my phone. I laid across my bed before I heard a knock at my door. Hey, are you alright? Zach asked me, looking worried. Yeah, just hurt, that's all, I replied. I hope Dave knows what he's doing, I sighed. Zach sat next to me on my bed. Well, if you need me, I'm always here, Zach commented, offering a hug of sorts. Oh, thanks, Zach, I said, engulfing him into a big hug that somehow reassured me to feel okay. Zach and I decided to talk a bit about YouTube and other things while we were just holding each other in our arms. Before I knew it, we were fast asleep, still hugging. Dave stopped in the middle of his words. What the fuck? Dave yelled. Zach and I woke up instantly from Dave's yelling. What's up? What's wrong? I asked. Suddenly I realized the arms I was engulfed in was Zach. Moreover, Zach's shirt was even off, and my shirt looked like it was the process of coming off, showing my bra. What the fuck were you two doing? Dave sternly asked. I looked up at Zach, who looked equally as worried, and back at Dave. Dave, it's not what it looks like, I said, trying to come up with an explanation. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm seeing, Dave stated, walked away furious. I looked at Zach. I'm starting to think you did this for revenge at Dave, I commented with my arms crossed at Zach. It's making you look like a hoe, to be honest. No, why would I do that? Zach stuttered. I do pranks, but not like this, he explained. I gave Zach a death stare before sighing and leaving the room. Great, now Dave has pissed at me even more, I mumbled, giving an exasperated sigh. Went downstairs to see if Dave had stormed off down there. I eventually saw him outside the window, on the bench, on the phone with someone. Quietly opened the front door and came up behind him. I snatched his phone and asked him, "And who is this, Dave?" I asked him. No one, Dave said, rather quickly, hanging up, attempting to take his phone back. So you're cheating now, huh? I asked him. I stormed off with his phone to my room. I went through all of his contacts. He didn't really have any contacts that caught me off guard, but one, Alexandria, Hart. I had no idea who she was, but if there's a Hart, it's a Hart, and I didn't even bother to question. I was infuriated that he'd do such a thing. Dave, I'm going to kill you, I screamed out of anger. I was very sure Zach could hear me from my room. What's going on now? Zach asked, walking into my room confused. Instead of responding, I gave him Dave's phone to show him my findings. Zach, now understanding the situation, just engulfs me into a hug. After staying like that, I decided to go to Dave directly and just state that we needed a day apart. Then we could talk up when our minds are both clear. Doing exactly that, I gave him his phone, along with an extra disappointed face. Told him we should avoid each other for a day and come back to discuss things over with one another. Dave, agreeing to this, went off somewhere while I stayed at our apartment with Zach. Instead of saying anything when I dragged him into the living room, he just sat there in understanding and let me do whatever. I decided to bring him over to watch some Netflix with me to keep me company. Watched a variety of shows, only going episode 1 in and going to a different one, and maybe sticking around for episode 2 when Zach finally looked over to me and asked me if I was alright, to which I just stayed silent. After a while of me realizing I wasn't even watching anything, just listening to Zach's heart, I looked up at him to see him looking at me. We were so close, I could almost, no, this feels wrong, a side of me thought, but Dave's done this too. It's his fault. This is just payback. The other one argued back. This wouldn't be right to do to Dave or Zach. We'd be leading Zach on while we're with Dave. I felt bad even considering anything. Come on, live a little. Let me take the wheel. Dave deserves this for cheating. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes. While we were there, Zach and I, kissing, and somehow I was kissing back. Oh, okay, I guess you're a hoe. Chapter 50. I instantly woke up from the nightmare, falling off of my bed. Zach and Dave rushed through the door. Are you okay? Someone said. I woke up on the floor this time. I got up to see Dave looking at me. Oh my god, I thought you left, I said, hugging him, but instantly taking it back. Where did you go? I thought you left me. Looking away from him, but he pulled me in and kissed me, despite the obvious tension. That was my sister. And unless some incest is going on here, the only girl I love is you. He rolled his eyes and pulled me in again, our lips meeting but then breaking apart. What's wrong? You don't believe me? Dave asked with a smirk. I could show you, he said, picking me up even though I was still unresponsive. Did I cheat on you? I asked Dave. What? I sure hope not. All that happened last night was you fell asleep after we fought, Dave said. Oh, then it was all probably a nightmare, I replied with a sigh of relief. I then went on to explain the nightmare I had to Dave, making him glad nothing happened, and to soothe me, he kissed me. Get a room, Zach yelled, half-jokingly. Okay, great. No one died, and we're all made up now. I'm hungry. How about Uber Eats? Spifey suggested, taking out his phone. I thought you guys left, I asked, confused. We came back to grab some stuff, but got caught in your argument, Zelk answered, holding up his plushie. I just shrugged, knowing they would be here for a bit. After we all ate and we all split up, Dave and I going into our rooms while Zach, Zelk, and Spifey were in the living room. I looted up my laptop to edit, but then heard a knock at my door, took off my headphones and opened it to see Dave standing there with a smirk on his face. So, as I said before, I can prove it, if you don't believe me, he said, his cheeks turning a little pink. I wouldn't be talking if I were you, I giggled a bit while Dave laid on my bed watching me edit. You, Dave broke the silence. Yeah? I asked, scooting my chair towards him. Dave pulls me on top of him and started to kiss me. We started to make out, quickly going under the sheets as I tangled my fingers through Dave's hair as he bit my neck. We came to a stop and we heard a knock on the door. Yes, I asked the door, not getting up and instead putting my head against Dave's chest. If I wanted to listen to porn, I'd go online, Spifey called sarcastically while waiting outside the door. I rolled my eyes and went back to my editing chair while Dave sighed and left my room. Spifey looked back at me with a not right now look before walking downstairs. I ended up finishing editing and went to bed, trying not to think about what happened before Spifey stopped us. I woke up and went to the kitchen to see Zach eating cereal and Dave making coffee. Good morning, Muffin. Sleep well? Zach asked as I grabbed the coffee that Dave made to annoy him. I just want coffee, I groaned. Really tired after editing all night long, I continued. I then proceeded to snatch Dave's coffee and run off with it. My coffee, Dave ran after me. I set his coffee down on his nightstand and was then pushed down onto the bed by Dave. My coffee, I said, while he chuckled a bit at my heist, but then joined me on the bed. Where did we leave off? I asked, wrapping my legs around him. We left off with someone interrupting us, and I don't want that to happen again. So why not we just wait? Dave suggested sitting up. You're no fun, I complained, sitting up as well as blushing. Well, I'm sorry that I don't want to get caught again, Dave shot back. Well, I'm sorry that I live a little, I replied, pretending to be mad, not looking at him. You're going to take that back later, Dave smirked a bit, pulling me in for a kiss. I thought you wanted to wait, I said, mocking his words. Dave just laughed and left the room with his coffee. I suddenly heard a ding from Dave's stream setup and instantly regretted coming out of the room. I leaned out the door frame and called for Dave. What's wrong? Dave started, but then instantly looked at his desktop. Dave and I froze. We didn't know what to do. You perverts, Dave said to his stream, laughing. Dave then proceeded to end his stream, giving me a glance. Well, we're screwed, I commented while Dave gave no response. Instead of just walking out of his room with an annoyed expression, he then proceeded to smile at me. What the fuck just happened? I sat there in thought before walking out of Dave's room. Trying to forget what had happened, I walked out of Dave's room and saw Zach packing up his things, along with Zelk and Spifey grabbing their stuff. You guys leaving? I asked, getting a few nods as a response. Well, I'll miss hanging out with you guys here, I stated, giving them all big hugs. Be careful. Safe travels, Dave and I said as they left, leaving us in comfortable silence.